Hello teacups, what's brewing? So today I am on limited time because work hasn't quite started yet, but I've got to be ready to go on the computer. So I'm going to be reacting to Foodie Beauty's 60s mukbang that she just posted, and then I'm hoping to edit it after I finish work. I am now thankfully on work from home, so thank you to everyone who crossed their fingers for me. I really appreciate it, but I'm on limited time, I've got less than an hour, which as you know is not very long for me, so we're going to get into it.
Hello, Foodie Beauties.
Hello. Ooh. I mean, it's psychedelic. Alright. Slaves, of course. I can't remember who was talking about it, but it's nice to see real footage in her opening like this. I know she did movie footage in her 80s opening, but I feel like it was on DC's Live when they were comparing it to Robin's React, where he had real footage of the Titanic. And especially if she's going for 69, which I think she's literally only chosen because you can giggle over the fact that it's the number 69, then there would be a lot of footage she could draw from. Hitchhiking down the main road.
Hey.
Ooh.
Hey guys, what's up, what's up?
Hey.
Feeling groovy? I
mean, she's gone for it. She's got the flower crown, the glasses are pretty cool. It definitely invokes 60s. When you look at it, you think, oh yes, that's clearly the era. And I did say that about some of her other outfits. I don't know why I feel vaguely disappointed by this when there's no real reason for me to. Also, I can't see her makeup yet, and I can see some lashes, but I do like to look at the makeup. My instinct says faintly disappointed, but there's no real reason to be, if that makes sense. When she does these mukbangs, she's not a fashion historian. She doesn't need them to be massively accurate. She needs them to invoke the era, and this does. So, props.
Welcome to 1969. Big year, all kinds of things happen, and fondue. Year of fondue, actually, decade of fondue. Fondue was very big in the 60s and the 70s.
60s and 70s is not one decade. I was looking into this. I put it on my community tab because fondue, a lot of people had guessed fondue. She'd shown the fondue pot. And when I did some quick research on it, and I mean quick research on it, I found out that it had come to America mainly through the World's Fair. It came to the Swiss Pavilion in the 30s and then again in the 50s for cheese fondue. The oil and broth fondue was also introduced in the 50s. But then when you got to the 60s, it was already too late for that, really. In the sense of if you're choosing food from that era. But they did introduce a chocolate fondue. And to be fair, she might be about to go for chocolate fondue. So that would be good, but didn't she just mention cheese, or am I imagining that? I mean, given the choice, cheese is her thing. I imagine she's doing cheese. But actually, chocolate fondue would have been a lot more accurate for the era she's chosen. I don't know why she chose 1969 versus anything else, maybe because of Woodstock and that being the ultimate kind of 60s thing people think of. I always think of fondue as more a 70s thing, but it might just, she's talking about late in the era, it might just have been popularized later. And, I was guilty of, in the 50s mukbang, thinking a lot more based on the European experience of these things, whereas in Canada, in the US, it might have been different at different times. It might have come in slightly earlier and then made its way to the UK. I don't know. So I didn't research it hard enough to know, but it says chocolate fondue, cream and Toblerone. Because it was a Swiss company, Toblerone came up with that in conjunction with a man whose name I can't remember. I did put it up on my community tab if you want to go and check. I don't feel like she'd pass up the opportunity for cheese, but chocolate would be accurate. Cheese, it came earlier.
So let's revisit 1969 together. Let's get groovy and let's eat. Let's get to. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Let's start with the
I like
wine.
the background, the mandolin in the background.
I'm going for this is a...
Wait, did I just call it the right thing? I can't even remember what I said.
Flower Child hippie hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
There's bacon and pickles on that plate. This is definitely going to be cheese. Oh, that's not accurate and makes me sad.
So this is a dry wine, Sauvignon Blanc.
Mm-hmm.
It is delicious. This is a Jackson Triggs from Niagara, Ontario.
I'm also, I mean, I don't know wine, guys. I don't know shit about wine. But if you know, tell me. This is probably not a wine from the 60s, I'm guessing. I do think she missed a trick as well. It did say, I mean, granted in the Wikipedia, but it did say that the Caesar was invented in Calgary in 68 or 69. And she does love a Caesar. So I'm surprised she's not going with that, but I suppose she's thinking cheese, wine, it's a better pairing, which I mean, I imagine it would be. But I kind of wish she'd gone for something more of the era.
Reserve. So it is amazing. It is pretty good for a screw off top. All right, I don't even know if that's true. They say that the best wine is like cork, but
again, I don't know shit about wine, but if I understand correctly, older wine, the older like wine ages. So if it's got a cork top, it's probably just indicative of the fact that it's older. And I think it does something. The cork does something because it ages. I don't. This is the whole limit of my alcoholic consumption. Something I did not research. I thought she was going to go for the Caesar. I really did.
that was pretty good.
I was wrong.
So I'm going to show you guys how to make a traditional Swiss fondue.
Mm-hmm.
Because fondue originated. It's a Swiss dish, and it goes.
I feel like she couldn't remember the word Switzerland there. It originated. It's a Swiss dish.
Back centuries, but it became popular in the United States. This is all for dipping, by the way. In the 60s and 70s, people were having these fondue parties, so it became popularized in that era. And that's why we're having a fondue party today. And but
I might be wrong. What do I know?
So
also, I was not alive in '69, but I know there's a fair few people in the community who were, so you would be absolutely welcome to correct anything she says down below if I just don't know it because it wasn't my era.
I'm going to show you how to make a traditional one, and the traditional one uses certain ingredients, so I'm going to show you now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I needed a heat-resistant surface, so you're going to take a couple cloves of, 1 clove of garlic cut in half, and you're just going to rub
I've never had fondue.
the pot with the fresh garlic.
Chocolate fountains, but not fondue.
I don't have pot brownies. That would have been a good...
If you don't have edibles, it will be the first time in a long time that is true.
Of course, for this. Probably more like acid brownies for this time period, honestly.
I find it amazing, given how many times she's shown up on this camera high, that she wasn't just completely baked before she started this. I mean, if there was ever a time to experiment with drugs, 1969.
We'll get into some chat in a bit. So we're gonna rub the garlic, get that nice garlic juice on there, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're going to add, this is all measured out already, 3/4 of a cup of milk. I'm using 2%, that's what I had in my fridge. You can use whatever. The more fat the milk has, probably the more creamier it's gonna be, right? So now we're going to turn.
Did she just say the more creamer it's gonna be? Oh, I suppose. With how much I F up my words. Maybe I shouldn't pick on that particular point.
Turn it on to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And you want to use a wooden utensil to stir in the cheese and just mix everything around, because it will damage the pot otherwise.
Good thing that's all you eat with.
These were suggested for dipping.
Yeah.
So the big gherkins I have, those wonderful gherkins I love, actually Probably won't work as good for this, but you could.
Because she's already consumed them. But actually, no, I would go with her with that because they were in particularly flavoured packets and they'd be a bit of a weird combination here. Can you imagine her dunking her tropical pickles into cheese?
Use them, I guess, but okay.
As I've said that, I'm thinking, do you remember the cheese and pineapple? I mean, it's more British than American, I think, but if you ever went to a family party on the buffet, you'd have a little cube of cheese and a little cube of pineapple on a cocktail stick. That was like a buffet food. So as I said, you can't dip tropical in cheese. I got a picture of that.
Now, I have 1 pound of Swiss cheeses, okay?
I'm already out of coffee.
It's getting hot already. So we're gonna mix that in.
Try not to die.
This is shredded. You want to shred the cheese because
It'll melt
it's
faster.
easier to, it'll melt evenly.
Yeah.
And you want to mix with that 3 tablespoons of flour
So much cheese.
to keep it smooth, silky, and to kind of thicken the sauce.
Okay.
So that's why they add like cellulose, or you call it wood pulp, to shredded cheese to keep it from sticking. So we're gonna add that in.
Considering you're gonna melt it, I don't think it matters that much if it sticks together. I mean, you're gonna stir it, the heat's gonna come to it. But I suppose, yeah, if it clumps, it's gonna take longer.
So the cheeses I've used, the Swiss cheeses, I've used Gouda, authentic Gouda,
I do like
medium
Gouda.
Gouda,
I like it's got a slightly nutty flavour, I like it.
Fontina, and Gruyere. And Gruyere is probably my favorite cheese, honestly.
Gruyere. Mike, I know you're gonna react to this, but Gruyere. Jesus Christ. Oh, afraid to speak there.
Swiss cheeses, definitely been my favorite lately.
I used to work on a dairy counter way back in the day. One of my first jobs was a part-time job on the cheese counter, cheese, fish and meat counter in Sainsbury's, a supermarket back home. And tell you right now, that is not how you pronounce that cheese.
So that's melting wonderfully. I wish I could show you. I'll show you when it's all done, but it's melting, yeah? See?
Yeah, it's okay. We know what melted cheese
Melt
looks
that in.
like. You're okay.
You want to do, I guess,
Show us at the end.
a figure 8 motion. Now this pot came with the recipe for a traditional Swiss, so
That's as much research as she did.
that's awesome.
That could actually be a fine recipe, but we don't know. And the point is, neither does she.
We're gonna melt the cheese in. Okay.
I thought you put a little bit
This
of
was nice.
beer into fondue. Am I making that up? I might be making that up. I suppose you can, but
It's nice and thick.
I always thought you did.
This is gonna be good, guys.
This is going to be good. It's a huge pile of melted cheese. This is basically her first version of heaven. And also, how uncomfortable is she going to be later? Oh, her stomach is going to hate her. It's going to hate her for days.
I melt that down, doing the figure 8 motion. Okay. Now a traditional Swiss fondue also has white wine, and you want Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
You want it.
I was thinking beer, but I don't know shit. That would explain why she's drinking the wine though.
To be room temperature.
To be fair.
You're going to use 3/4 of a cup of that. Ooh. And you're just going to mix that in and let it cook a bit. Have you guys ever had fondue? Now you can also there's so many kinds.
As I sit here judging you, I've actually never had it, so this could be a perfect recipe. What do I know? I'm still going to sit here and comment though, because that's just what I do.
Of different fondue, but the traditional Swiss one apparently is wine and cheese, because fondue in the ancient records in like the 1600s, there was a book found in Zurich
16...
that talked about
99, I think, the Food Timelines site said. I'll try and link the places I found my information below, but it does mention it.
Fondue, and it's literally a cheese sauce with wine melted, and you're meant to dip pieces of bread in it. So we're gonna get that all melty. Ooh, yeah, that looks really nice. Just gonna let it simmer. So we're supposed to just let it simmer for a bit.
There's also a Norwegian dish, I think it is. I think it's Norwegian, where you get this kind of heated metal. It's not quite a plate, but you put cheese on it and it melts down and you pour it over potatoes that always looked pretty delicious. I mean, melted cheese is a delicious thing. You put it on most things, it's going to be pretty good. I'm not sure about those gherkins, but most things.
So I'm just going to let it simmer for a few minutes and tell you what I have on the side here. So I'm going to enjoy a glass of wine, and that's why I'm getting red, because when I drink, I get red.
That is not the reason she's getting red. She's always red, we suspect, because of high blood pressure. Now, I get red patches. Whenever I get emotional, I get like these big red patches, and I get them again when I drink as well. And it's a thing all the women in my family get. So definitely drinking could make that come out. When you're very fair, you get these big splotches. Because I've had times where I've been nervous and trying to get through a meeting or something. Way back when, I don't really get that way anymore. And my manager was like, are you like thinking I was having some kind of allergic reaction? I was like, yeah, I'm just nervous. So could be turning her red, but given that she's always red, it's really difficult to tell the difference.
I have some fresh baked French bread.
That looks delicious.
I have some bacon.
Oh, I've just realised as well, I never commented on this. Can I say I'm a little bit disappointed by her makeup? The 60s is such an evocative look. Like, you have an image when you think of the 60s, and her makeup does not say it.
With some jalapenos on top, and I have some roasted.
That being said, she is going, sorry to keep stopping you. I say these things, then I realise, am I not being fair here, actually? And then I balance myself. Trying not to be just a pure troll. She is going for a more hippy-dippy kind of look, so that might be why she's not going for the big old, winged eyeliner and the things we imagine that kind of mod 60s look. So it might just be that she's going for a different type of image there. But if she's going for that kind of hippy-dippy, natural, psychedelic version of the 60s, her heavy eye makeup is not going to fit that either. So it feels like a lower effort version of the Time Walk. Like, this is closer to the 80s than it is to the 20s, put it that way.
Mini potatoes and
I feel like the more modern she gets, the lazier she gets.
You can dip anything. You can dip broccoli would be nice with this, Brussels sprouts, little tomatoes.
Not that she'll do any vegetable that isn't pickled, but all of those things could work.
Different kinds of bread, like the possibilities are seriously endless when it comes to fondue. You can dip anything. There are chocolate fondues are also popular, but I prefer cheese over chocolate any day, but that's just me.
Chocolate fondue would have been authentic, whereas this is not, but
Gonna let this simmer a little bit longer.
There were also oil and broth ones, a bit like you get the Chinese hot pot. Or, when I was living in Japan, there was a dish called oden, and it was stuff on sticks simmered in broth. And at the low end, you could buy it at convenience stores. You would get it as just like a hot food you could get to go that was really delicious. You get like tofu blocks, and there's lots of different things. And then you could go to oden restaurants, and you'd usually have like cutlets, like minced potato and meat, deep fried breaded cutlets, and you'd have oden and you put mustard on the side. It's really delicious, the broth ones.
So while this is cooking, 1969, I chose that year because it kind of, it almost defines the decade, really. You had the whole hippie counterculture movement. Some great music came out, like some great songs. That song by the Zombies, Time of the Season, it's the one that's like...
I thought she wasn't going to mention any. I was like...
Of the season, when love runs high, in this time, give it to me easy, and let me try.
Again, I don't know how... Like, I have images of songs and images of music, and I don't necessarily know that one, but it's not my era. So I think more kind of Janis Joplin, and I don't know. I don't recognise that song, but it could be me being stupid and young.
With pleasure hands. And my favorite song ever, classic Space Oddity, by David Bowie.
That's a good song.
This is ground control
Was that
to Major
1969?
Tom. You really
I don't know shit, guys. Just before all the trolls come for me, like, you don't know any, you were there, it's all true. Okay, I'm admitting it now, I don't.
made the grave, and the papers
that's a
want
good
to know
song.
whose shirt you wear. And it's time to leave the capsule if you did. All right.
If YouTube wouldn't strike me immediately, I'd put it in the background now.
Warm.
They get very touchy with music.
Just barely on
There.
warm. Okay.
We have to listen to that later.
Smells great. We're gonna add some pepper. Now you can add some nutmeg would be nice in this. Some paprika. A little bit of salt.
I'm sitting here thinking now, when I'm thinking of songs that invoke the era to me, I'm thinking of like Pave Paradise. What is it? Pave Paradise, put up a parking lot. That song?
Salt. Because cheese is very salty on its own, right?
I might be getting it wrong.
Okay. So we're gonna turn the heat off.
God, I gotta shut up. I gotta get this finished.
All these cheeses, Swiss cheeses, feeling groovy. I'm feeling groovy. I don't know about you guys. Let's try it.
Burn yourself. It's cream and cheese. It's gonna be
Get
fine.
right out. Get right out. Shh, I say shh and get right out.
That's rather aggressive, and screw you.
Oh my god, that flavor.
Although, that's gonna be her new thing now. She's obviously trying to morph the saying. Get right out. It's like whenever she comes up with a new name for Sam.
I love these videos because I get to try things that, dude, seriously.
She never eats melted cheese, you
What
guys.
your fondue for, Foodie Beauties? Too bad. First things first, I want to try is
She dipping bacon in
this
that?
jalapeno with bacon. Okay.
Oh, her poor heart. Desperately trying to beat through the melted cheese, the wine, and the bacon.
I don't know how you're supposed to put that on a fork, but
You're not, I'm not sure bacon is the traditionally intended sauce, the traditionally intended accompaniment for this. I don't think you're meant to use bacon. I mean, bacon and cheese will be delicious, but I don't think you're meant to.
that like that. There we go.
Oh,
It's gonna be hot.
Her poor cholesterol level. Her poor
Yeah.
cholesterol level. I do realise if you're eating a pot of melted
This
cheese,
velvety cheese.
you probably don't care about cholesterol. But fondue,
It's gonna drip
pickles,
on the
bacon, wine, bread, tradition, bacon.
Beauty bite.
I would actually be like reacting less if she had dipped the bacon into the chocolate. In my head, I'm like, oh, bacon and chocolate is a thing, even if it's not necessarily meant for chocolate fondue. But oh dear, I'm concerned. It's not that bacon and cheese isn't a thing, but I'm amazed her heart doesn't explode just here and now.
Out of this roll. Out.
Get out.
I'm gonna try a pickle. I can't imagine this tasting good. A sweet pickle. A sweet European cheese.
I think anything pickled and covered in melted in cheese, you're gonna love.
This would be, I can see why they had fondue parties because this would be amazing for parties, right?
I mean, it does seem right in the middle of the Rona to be the perfect thing for the parties you shouldn't be having.
Okay. So, let's try.
Could you imagine right now someone trying to do a fondue party? She's easy to get alone, it doesn't matter. But could you imagine? Like, I can't think of anything worse suited to the current moment.
I prefer the gherkins without the cheese, huh? Let's
She
try the
hates
bread.
it. That's the nicest way she can say that.
Soft.
The bread's going to be delicious.
And fresh.
I'm with her on that. That bread is going to be delicious dumped in there.
Alright.
Oh, that's such a big chunk. It's going to make a mess. It's going to go everywhere. She's going to try and put the whole thing in her mouth. It's going to smear all over her face. I told her.
Too hot.
It's too hot and too big.
Should have made smaller pieces.
Yeah, go cut them. Dude, it's not... That's a lovely freeze frame. It's not set in stone. I didn't write the fact that the pieces had to be that big in blood. Go get a knife. Like, learn from your, learn from your mistakes. She's learned nothing.
I forgot my napkins over there, but I'm not going to get them. I'm too tipsy.
Oh. Too tipsy from the however much wine she's... Too lazy. Let's call a spade a spade. You're too sodding lazy. Because you're also going to need the knife, you're going to need the napkins. Like,
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You're eating finger food. You're going to need
Wine
napkins.
is something else in this sauce. So 1969. So this is, yeah, fondue parties were big. I showed you how to make the traditional Swiss fondue.
I know it came with the pot and that's why she used it. I would have liked her to look up a retro recipe and see if it did in fact match. I've got beer in my head. I feel like beer goes into it. I could be completely wrong. I've got no logical reason to think that, but I think.
1969, so such a huge year. You had the Apollo 11 moon landing, Neil Armstrong walking, first moonwalk ever. I know some people conspired that...
Wasn't there like a TV studio fake moon landing thing?
The moon landing never happened? I think it did.
I want to say John Glenn. This is my entire reference point for this is like Hairspray. So Hairspray the movie.
And Apollo 11,
me looking it up.
13, like the Tom Hanks movie. Nice potato.
I can't even complain to her that she's like, oh, well, I got this from the movie. I'm like, obviously the moon landing happened, but I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm gonna say a thing because I watched it in Hairspray, so I've done exactly as much research as she's done on that particular thing, and we'll move on.
Carrot. You guys want to see?
Carrot feels like a weird choice as well. I think tomato. I don't know. It's her food, but.
So you had that. You had James Earl Ray getting sentenced to 99 years in prison for the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968.
A massive event, but again, not 1969. Why didn't she just call this a 1960s mukbang? Is it because she was worried if she did and she wanted to do fondue, like, people would be like, no, that was a 70s thing, so she chose something specifically at the end of the era? Is it just because the moon landing in Woodstock? Like, she could have just called this 60s and been done and had a lot more freedom. Was that just the first graphic that popped up, so she said 69 so she didn't have to search more?
Sentence him to rot in jail where he belongs. This is amazing. Like, amazing.
What was going on in Canada at that era? Was there anything specifically, like, different?
I'm not much of a dry wine drinker, but this is good. This is good. So you had...
Because, for example, the Caesar that I think she should be drinking, that's known as a Canadian drink, which I didn't realise until she had one in a video before, and people were like, oh no, it comes from Calgary. So, again, we talked about her localising her history a bit more, because I know generally some things, some major world events, and, you know, famous things that make it through despite the culture, but I don't know much specifically about Canada, and that would be interesting.
Something tragic happened in 1969, in the summer of 69. Hey, stop turning on.
Clearly her bacon's more important.
Bacon is a bit tricky, especially if you like crispy bacon like I do. You guys like crispy bacon or fatty bacon? I like crispy bacon.
Engage below.
The Manson family murders.
That's what her bacon was more important then. Why? Thank you. I thought she was going to leave it there. I was going to have a full out tantrum about it. Like, that you know. But she wiped it. Well, good.
Devastating murder of Sharon Tate. She was married to Roman Polanski at the time, and he was away on business. A few other people were murdered as well. I think Abigail Folger Harris to the Folgers Coffee Company was murdered. That just like shock the nation.
I feel like we dinged her a little bit the way she spoke about Titanic victims and how her brain kind of stopped processing for a minute as she tried to emote. She did, oh my freeze frames, open mouthed. She did, when she was talking about the murders just then, sound a little more human about it. But then she was like, oh, and a few other murders happened. And I was like, oh, Chantal, honey, you were so close. You can mention these murders, obviously, you know, it's a murder, it's tragic, but something about how she discusses them sometimes just strikes me wrong. And I think it's because she doesn't connect emotionally with any of them. And something that's striking me here is, it's good she's trying to here, which is nice, but it's not tragic to her personally. So I feel like she goes a bit too much one way or the other, and I don't want to sit here and be like, well, you need to emote more, well, you emoted more and now I'm not happy, you know, because then there's no way for her to win in that regard. But more just something about the way when she tries to talk about emotion, because I genuinely don't think she's feeling anything, and there's no reason for her to other than human empathy of, wow, that's awful. There's no reason for her to feel any kind of personal connection with these things, so she doesn't have to be devastated, but I don't know, something about the way she emotes things strikes me as odd sometimes, if that's fair to say. Let me know your thoughts below.
Such a terrible thing. So you had that happen.
Like that, such a terrible thing. Yeah, it was, but she weirdly oscillates, and then like she's like absolutely fine, and I don't know.
Peace and love, right? You had the hippie movement, Flower Child. You had this movement of people who were just protesting. You had the right smack in the middle of the Vietnam War, a war that claimed so many lives and lasted a long time. I think it started, in the 50s and lasted till the mid-70s, if I'm not mistaken. It's bread.
Still hasn't learned from the enormous
Carb
chunks.
haters will not want to watch this. Well, nobody hates carbs. People who get triggered to eat them when they see them.
I get triggered by that. Just smeared all over her face. Eating something that size, she genuinely
like velvety, rich,
can't help
bit
it.
tangy.
Say creamy.
And then you have the wine, the hint of wine that makes it look a bit acidic. Acidy.
Thank you for correcting. I had some things to say.
I'm breaking the friggin' fondue rules.
She's gonna.
And
Sodium.
since you guys are behind the screen, I can double dip all I want. So,
congratulations to you.
You know, hippies were peacefully protesting. Well, they were protesting peaceful.
Why did you change that? You were right. Peacefully protesting.
Protesting the war. A lot of other social unrest going on. They were counterculture, anti-establishment.
Her brain's just like, nah, give me pickles.
Free sexually, freer sexuality. That's why there were so many boobs at Woodstock.
It's the thing she focuses on.
But yeah, Woodstock, I was gonna make most were vegetarian apparently, hippies. But Woodstock was like an atrocity environmental-wise. There was so much pollution and filth. Kind of counteracts that whole environmentalist, hippie culture kind of thing, you know? But people were buying acid for $1. Now that might have been a CIA agent selling it, because there was the whole MK Ultra operation going on, the covert CIA operation where they were giving people acid without them knowing, so they could test some kind of the psychological effect for warfare and psychological warfare probably, or something like that. That's pretty messed up. I mean, really, right?
That was pretty messed up.
But it was a psychedelic era. We had psychedelic music, like the music in my intro. The Doors, very psychedelic rock.
I wish she'd make up her mind. Is this a Woodstock mukbang? In which case, I can't imagine them with fondue pots there. She could have done a vegetarian dish, but then that wouldn't have been slathered in cheese the way fondue is. Or does she want 60s as a whole, or does she want 69 specifically, in which case she could have done the moon landing, she could have done some of that dehydrated food. There was a lot she could have done, but she's just kind of amalgamated everything. So it gives off this vibe of kind of jack of all trades, master of none in terms of what she's presenting.
And a lot of artists would drop acid or take hallucinogenic drugs in order to, they said it opened their mind.
Do you guys remember that song? I don't know what year this was, but that Ask Alice song. Ask Alice. You do get the sense that whoever sang that was just high as balls, like entire time.
More creativity flow.
I mean, the whole thing about kind of going down the
like,
rabbit hole as a subject matter.
You don't want to mess with that stuff. Shrooms is one thing, but
Just remembered she told us she's done shrooms.
no. But yeah, so it's like a really memorable year, especially, you know, with everything that I just talked about going up.
It's a really memorable year, so much so that, you know, even especially with everything I just talked about, I don't think she can even remember her last two sentences, which I sympathise. I'm only one coffee in and I gotta go soon, but no.
On. I think those were the main memorable things that happened that year. A lot happened in that year.
Oh, what happened to the screen just then? It all glitched out. Please wipe your mouth. Please be a lady. I know it's too much to ask of you.
Feel free to mention anything else you think of.
How about instead of things you think of, you do actual research that you link down below so we can follow through and enjoy reading about the era? That would be a great way to engage with your audience. You could, you know, put information links, say, I got this here, please, your memories, it would be wonderful. We can talk about the actual facts, you know, that. I think she's done some basic research, but I think it's been very basic, and she's just kind of remembering bits and pieces she's heard out of movies. And again, I've done a bit of that in this react, so I can't completely ding her on it, but I'm not the one presenting this mukbang. I feel like she could have had some of those little boiled potatoes. Have I said that? No, I was talking about the Norwegian dish and the potatoes.
So fondue parties.
Damn, I need another coffee.
Wasn't there also like tea parties that were popular?
Oh. I knew, the moment she made that expression, I knew this was going to be something to do with sex. And again, I feel like it's more of a 70s thing, I feel like.
You ever hear of a tea party in like the 60s?
Maybe not. Maybe
Look it up.
Maybe I'm wrong on
Hey! My light is like flashing.
that. Okay, calm down.
Honestly,
Is it your battery? You've just done a cut, so obviously you checked.
technological issues can be a big problem for YouTubers.
It's a camera with an on button. If you're having a technical issue, either your memory card is screwed, your battery is out, or, you know, those are the two big issues, and you can fix both of them. Or you can change them out.
This is amazing. Let me tell you right now.
And doesn't she use her phone
Back
to
to your
record?
jalapeno.
It's not like she's using a camera. She used it once and it showed too
missing.
much.
This
Scrape
one's
that
like covered in more
cheese.
cheese.
Do not leave it.
I hate this shirt.
How much bread did she have there?
I should have got a different shirt. So,
As I'm shitting all over her outfit, I don't actually mind the flower crown. That's a nice touch.
man, Woodstock, 2 people died. But part of me would have wanted to go because
it was a major world event that we remember even now.
Look at the lineup. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Grateful Dead. So many icons.
Mm.
That would have been an awesome concert.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
You get to see those icons before they join the 27 Club.
Mm.
Would be amazing.
Oh, that was awful. That was a bad bite by her own standards, and I think she burned herself. Oh, and also, it still won't go and get her napkins, so she's wiping her eyes on her shirt. Her dirty fingers. She just burnt the shit out of her mouth. She really did. What did she do just then? She took the pickle, which she's eaten multiple of, and just went, like, reassuring yourself it's still a pickle, laying the coolness on the burn she just did, and oh, that's what it was. I don't think putting like a salted sweet pickle directly on a burn is going to help that, but she just laid that on her lip because she burnt it so badly. She's not telling us, but we've got eyes.
Would have been.
Seems like the perfect medical relief, the pickle. I suppose it's the coldest thing she's got on her plate. Oh, she does have potatoes there. I've been an idiot. I didn't even see those. I don't know what I was assuming they were. She's got potatoes in with the carrots. My apologies if you've gotten this far. I was wrong.
Jeepers.
Am I friggin' blind? How did I miss those? Oh, not enough coffee.
I can smell the garlic now. That was a good idea.
And in learning nothing from her last attempt, oh, it's okay, it was a slightly smaller piece. I love that I completely
There's so much
missed
cheese
that the
sauce in
thing
there.
she's been dipping in was potato. I'm a friggin' moron, you guys.
If you love cheese, you gotta try this.
If you love cheese, get a big pot of it and dip
You'll not
shit
be
in.
disappointed. You have to like Swiss cheese too. But some people don't, you know?
I mean,
Okay.
you could make it out of any cheese you wanted. It is a originally Swiss dish, but when I was just reading up on it, it said you need like a softer cheese and then a higher, drier fat content cheese, harder cheese, and you mix them. So it wouldn't have to be a Swiss cheese. By the Swiss cheese board, then yeah, they recommend Swiss cheese. She missed a trick not doing chocolate. I've been far more forgiving of her. I hate how she does that sound.
That was good. Okay, guys. I'm pretty full, actually. That's filling the bread and the cheese and everything. It's very rich.
Yeah,
So,
it's cheese.
I really thank you for hanging out with me and coming back in time with me in this video. It was really fun. And excuse me.
Don't fucking excuse me now. You could have cut that. Every time. Who's paying you for that?
I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
It's always right near the end. Oh, I'd say thank you for watching. He was so close to getting through it. So close. There we go, guys. I've got to get to work pretty soon, so I'm not going to linger too long. I was a little bit disappointed. She could have done fondue and done chocolate. I know she prefers cheese, but chocolate fondue would have been correct for the era and the cheese wasn't. I don't feel like she made a huge amount of effort with her outfit. It did invoke the era, I'll give her that, but she didn't try to do her makeup in that era at all. That was just her regular makeup. She had researched a little bit, but I get the feeling as she was trying to remember the things she'd researched, she forgot. And again, she did, in her Titanic mukbang, she had a few cuts where I think she was checking information, and she probably could have benefited from that here. But yeah, it was a bit all over the place. She was thinking generally 60s rather than the specific year she'd chosen. I think there were some big events in that year, but it feels closer to the effort level of the 80s mukbang than it does to sort of the Titanic or the 20s. I don't feel, out of the Time Warp one she's offered, I don't feel this was one of her top ones. Alright guys, I gotta get to work. I will edit this after my lessons finish, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.